So what I want to talk about is kind of more so how the gut and the liver play and why, some of the things that we'll do, some of the things you guys are doing really primarily focus, and especially in the beginning, is on your liver and your gut. The reason why we stay away from specific foods, the reason why we get rid of specific things like artificial sweeteners and food additives is because we want to keep the inflammation within the GI tract low, but we also want to support liver detoxification. And how do we do that? Well, we use specific things like the Metapure, for example, because we use that to help with the phases of your liver detoxification. So when you take that powder, you look at it and it says phase one and phase two. And you probably looked at and you're probably thinking, like, what the hell does that mean? Well, what that is your liver has phases, okay, two phases, and then, well, three. Three is where you excrete it, but two main phases where it turns a fat soluble toxin from the environment into a water soluble. So, what are some toxins in our environment? The water we drink, the makeup we put on, the cologne, the perfume, okay, some of the clothes, plastics, okay, the air that we breathe, the chemicals that are in the air, okay, pacifiers, sippy cups, water bottles, food containers, non-cooked stickware, non-cooked stickware. All right. Um, you know, things in a bunch of plastic, all these things. All right. So it's actually true that we ingest about a credit card worth of plastics a week. And so with that being said, that's obviously terrible for us. And the main plastic is a specific type of toxin called a BPA. And what that BPA is what's called the endocrine disruptor. And what an endocrine disruptor is that once it touches our body, it acts like a hormone, primarily estrogen. What does that do then? Well, now our bodies are getting all these chemical messages of estrogen. Now we have too high of estrogen. Well, guess where estrogen likes to accumulate? In fat tissue. Where does fat tissue like to accumulate? In the midsection. All right. So instead of trying to, severely cut your calories, instead of trying to starve you, instead of trying to outwork this toxic accumulation, how about we work with inside your body and how your body works? Okay. So if this is all making sense, we have a bunch of toxins in our environment. Our liver detoxes those toxins. Well, other places as well, but primarily the chief detoxifier is our liver. So we use supplements to support that in the beginning. We use specific foods to support that. We use specific, powders to support that. So how does this actually play into your thyroid function? Well, your thyroid is a negative feedback loop, meaning it goes in circles. Okay. So it starts with your brain. Actually, most things start with your brain. Okay. You have something called the HPA axis, which is like hypothalamus pituitary. And this is why everyone is messed up and everyone thinks that their symptoms and their issues are from high cortisol. Well, yeah, because if your body perceives a specific stress, then it'll signal to different areas. So what I mean by that is that, like I said, so your thyroid creates a hormone called TRH. So TRH is like thyroid releasing hormone, and that comes from your hypothalamus, which is just like a piece in your brain. Okay, and it signals to your pituitary gland, and that's called TSH, and you would know that because that gets tested. Okay, so TRH to TSH, and then it goes to your thyroid. Okay, so TSH goes to your thyroid and makes majority of it T4 and just some T3. Okay, so obviously that majority of T4 is not the active form. Okay, now remember, we want to focus on all thyroid hormones, but mainly we want to really focus on T3 because that's the active form. That T3 is what the actual, let's say, what's needed inside your cells. So it goes from TSH to your thyroid, mainly T4. So what happens now? Well, that inactive T4 has to go into the active form, T3. How does it do that? Well, I'm not going to get into it too much, but there has to be selenium, iodine, and there has to be specific transporters for your thyroid. But where does the conversion actually happen? Well, it doesn't just happen in the thyroid gland. And this is why you don't feel well on Synthroid or levothyroxine. Because the thyroid conversion happens in also your heart, your gut, your liver, and what's called peripheral tissue. That's like your toes, that's like your feet, that's like your bicep, all right? Because remember, specifically that hormone T3 speaks to every cell inside your body, everywhere. And it has metabolic capacity because it stimulates your mitochondria. So when we just take selenium or iodine, or we just take levothyroxine or Synthroid, those don't fix the spots of the other conversion or the other conversion spots. Meaning, if we're dealing with issues with toxic accumulation, what I just talked about in the liver, well, guess what's going to get impaired? The conversion of T4 to T3. Okay, let's say that you have an issue with your gut. You have leaky gut, you have low stomach acid, so you have a bunch of GERD symptoms, acid reflux, you have extreme bloating, constipation, you have an IBS label. Yes, that's going to impair the conversion of the inactive form T4 into the active form T3. So we have that conversion. Okay. And then then it gets converted, okay, from T4 to T3, which is the active form. And then whatever is left, and this is majority of your stress levels, goes into reverse T3, RT3. Okay. And when RT3 is elevated, that's a sign that there's high levels of stress and that your thyroid hormone isn't properly getting converted. And then from there, it goes back up to TRH and goes again and again like a negative feedback loop. So how do we actually get a hypothyroid label? Well, usually your TSH is elevated. Why is that? Well, it's because your thyroid hormones aren't getting converted properly. Okay. And so isn't it because your thyroid hormone isn't getting properly converted, that T4 to active T4, active T3 gets skipped, and then it goes to that reverse T3 like I just talked about. And that reverse T3 gets high, and then it sends it like a negative feedback loop back up to the pituitary and hypothalamus. And then you get that elevated TSH, maybe like a low free T4, and then boom, hypothyroidism occurs. Now, the unfortunate truth is that about 90% of those hypothyroid issues are actually from years of being in an antibody attack of your thyroid. You know this by Hashimoto's. So is everyone, can you guys raise your hand or something that let me know if you guys understand what I'm talking about? I know I'm kind of just going off, but I'm trying to what I'm saying is making sense because this is crucial because if we don't understand why we got to the space, because I want to talk about, you know, it's environmental adaptation. I'm not going to diet you. I'm not going to diet whatever. I'm going to diet your environment because your environment is what put you there. You didn't just wake up. You didn't just wake up with thyroid issues. You didn't just wake up with extreme bloating, constipation, acid reflux. You didn't just wake up. There was a process that got you there. So my job is to get you out of the tangled up wired headphones and get you out of there. And part of that is the education portion. All right, Augustino, what's up?
You said to raise our hand.
Oh, yeah, my bad. Yeah. So yeah, part of this is the education part. So we're starting to understand it. Okay. It's all a negative feedback loop from your brain to your thyroid gland. Okay. And then to obviously everything else. And then we're at the part where it's like, okay, we have hypothyroidism, but how did that hypothyroidism really occur? Well, there's probably poor conversion. Okay, what was the poor conversion from? Probably issues within the gut, with nutrient deficiencies. Okay, with liver issues, detoxification issues. Okay, well, what else can that impair? your immune system. 80% of your immune system is in your gut. And what I mean by that is that the cells of your immune system are housed in your gut. So if you have an incompromised gut, you have an incompromised immune system. And so with majority of people I see, they have poor detoxification pathways. They have some type of overgrowth, whether it be like candida, which is fungal overgrowth, or some type of dysbiosis, or like H. pylori. And so what happens is that they have this overgrowth and then actually becomes leaky gut. Okay. And then when it becomes leaky gut, the immune system gets overactive and then autoimmunity occurs because now foreign invaders flow into your bloodstream, which then causes an immunological response that then triggers the antibodies and a defense mechanism. And now your thyroid gland is getting attacked. But you don't know this until you test these antibodies. So by focusing on liver detoxification and your gut, that will dramatically improve your thyroid gland before giving anything like a nutrient like iodine or selenium, because we are helping your immune system attack and we are helping the conversion of T4 into T3. So with that being said, many people deal with all types of food sensitivities, which come from a leaky gut. Okay. Many people deal with extreme bloating and IBS label, which comes from a leaky gut. Many people deal with Hashimoto's and rheumatoid arthritis because of a leaky gut. So what I'll do here is I want to pull up a slide here that shows more so the toxin relationship with pretty much your liver, because there's a lot coming at us, or coming at you guys, but I'm just trying to make it very digestible. Okay, let's do this. Actually, so actually, we'll just go here. This is gonna be better. So what I do see is that I see a lot of people that struggle to get their issues under control because they're not actually focusing on all these things. They're not focusing on all these things. They're focusing on one, two, three, four. Nope, not all of them. That's what we're focused. That's why it's so damn intense in the beginning. That's why it's like, what the hell, Diego? I can't eat this. I can't do this. I got to take this. I got to do that. Yeah, because we have to do all of these things at once. It's a orchestra. We have to, just have it all at once. You got to have the trumpet, or, you get the analogy. So we need to focus on removing your food sensitivities and improving your food allergens. So by supporting your gut, by removing inflammatory foods and also common food, um, sensitivities or allergens, that helps improve your gut lining, essentially, is what we're trying to do here. Inflammation, or improving that by the diet you're eating and by some of the supplements you're taking. Toxins, we're doing that by the liver, all right? Infections, okay? That's also with the gut, but you also get that when you do the initial health questionnaire, okay? Nutrient deficiencies, obviously, we're fixing that. Gut dysfunction, we're fixing that. Your liver, stress, certain medications, bio individual, and then adrenal imbalances. So what would happen is that you would take one test, whether it be just a blood test for your thyroid or a gut test, and you'll just take some stuff to help with whatever that is. But that's not still looking at the picture or a holistic approach. Okay. So that's what we're truly focusing on here, okay? Is there's many things that attack your thyroid and we're collecting them all at once and we're supporting them. You know that carbohydrates feed your thyroid the most? Do you know what the number one diet they recommend if you're dealing with a thyroid issue is? A paleo, AIP. Both of those are devoided from carbohydrates. And it's funny though, because the reason why, you know, I say it's funny because, the amount of people that I've helped get their either Hashimoto's hypothyroidism under control, I always fed them carbohydrates heavily. Because yeah, pro-inflammatory, added sugar, carbohydrates are inevitably gonna, mess up your thyroid. But simple sugars, complex carbs help nourish your thyroid. It also helps nourish your adrenal glands, which few even understand that. But what most people have, high stress. Most people already been doing keto, so why would we do keto more? So this is why you eat a lot of carbohydrates in the beginning, because it nourishes your thyroid, or just eat more carbohydrates than you think in general, because it nourishes your thyroid. It supports adrenal function and actually helps you with recovery for workouts, which is the fitness side is a whole different thing. We're doing both here because of it. But another thing is that we talked about all these nutrients that get involved. So what I do want to talk about here too is that when you have, so there's a thing called epigenetics. I mean, you have specific genes in your body that get turned on from the environment we live in. In with the majority of women that I've worked with, and I don't really do it too much, but what happens is that through epigenetic change, meaning the environment that we lived in changed your genes, most women have a predeposition of a gene MTHFR, which means you have poor methylation. Okay. In these specific gene snippets, which I don't test genes that much because I'm not trying to confuse everyone here, these specific gene snippets make you more predisposed to these specific chronic health conditions. And so by supporting methylation, creatine, some of the B vitamins, all the other stuff we're doing, that will inevitably help you with your specific chronic health condition. L-carnitine. Okay. So that's a whole different rabbit hole. But also with that specific gene snippet, you know, that also makes you bad at detoxifying toxins out of your body. That also makes you have that messes up cycles heavily. That messes up hormone balance. That messes up your immune system. Okay, so they're not even looking at that. Your doctor sure as hell ain't looking at that. Whatever. Because we need to take a legitimately holistic approach. Because everyone says they're holistic, but they're not taking a holistic approach. They're not looking at your genes. They're not looking at your gut. They're not looking at your nutrient status. They're not looking at all different types of lipid panels because we need to focus on all these things. Because remember, your body is what's called a dynamic system. It works in unison. It does not work in isolation. You go see an endocrinologist, they just look at the endocrine system. You go see a gastroenterologist, they just look at the gastrointestinal system. You go see a immunologist, they're just looking at the immune system. It's just isolation. That's what the allopathic model is. But it's also symptom and procedure care. So we need to understand that all of your body, it works in unison. So if I'm dealing with adrenal dysfunction, if I'm just overstressing emotionally, physically, chemically with alcohol, if I'm emotionally overstressing, that's not only going to mess up my thyroid gland, it's also going to suppress my immune system, slow down what's called digestive secretion. Now I'm not producing enough stomach acid for my digestion of food. Okay, it's going to actually break my gut lining. And then all that can get traced back. Okay, I got leaky gut. That's going to actually mess up my immune system. Okay, it's going to mess up my adrenal function. Okay, or if I have so much inflammation. Okay, so everything works together. So we have to do specific things at specific times. That's why you would do a strategic 3-step process with the foundation, execution, optimization, because it has to be a holistic approach. Because if I just worked on your hormones in the beginning, I'd be dead wrong. Or if I only just worked on your gut and your liver, I'd also be dead wrong. So it's about truly taking a holistic approach. So with fixing your thyroid issues, you know, the main thing is taking a holistic approach. And it really does start with your liver and your gut. Okay. And what is the number one thing that you can do to improve your liver and gut? Watch the things you put inside your mouth. Really, people ask me all the time, what can I do to heal my gut? Like 40 times a day. And it is as simple as watch what you ingest into your mouth because it's going into your stomach. It should be ABC. But some of the things like we're drinking these juices. Why the hell are we drinking these juices? Pomegranate, apple. It's because it gives your digestive system a break. And it still gives you the carbohydrates back to the thyroid and the other nutrients needed. Okay. Because some people do something called an elemental diet. And this is what I do if someone has IBD. But elemental diet is it's a specific powder that gives your small intestine and colon, aka large intestine, a break from digesting food. And so when we're continuing, and that's a whole because they're dealing with an inflammation heavily. But when we're dealing with those issues, we want to give our digestive system a break, but we don't want to fast because that's just already gonna mess up your hormones even more. So it's all playing together. So in the beginning, we obviously eliminate food allergens. And then as we progress, we're still trying to do the best to stay away from pro-inflammatory ingredients that destroy the gut microbiome in your liver. Okay, Augustina knows this. I mean, we're trying to stay away from specific food additives, emulsifiers, preservatives. Okay, there's actually a statistic that bodies are decomposing slower than ever before from all the food preservatives we eat in our lifetime. So, yeah, we're watching these ingredients. Um, and so there's some other things too. So cortisol is a big issue as well because we don't want to just look at your gut and your liver, but cortisol also plays in as well. And it's more so, uh, the rhythm of cortisol. So most people have a destroyed rhythm of cortisol, meaning they wake up in the morning and their cortisol is so suppressed, but then throughout the day it goes up. Okay. So, um, if we were to look at a specific test, which is a Dutch hormone test, which has anyone heard of that test before? You can just drop like a one in the chat. All right, perfect. So another thing is that it's all right. This lady's a warrior, so she doesn't care. So we got this going. So what we have here is that like we look at this. This is a really good illustration. So what we have is a cortisol rhythm. So we wake up and we want that natural spike of cortisol when we wake up. Okay, that's just how we work. And then in the evening, we want that lowering of cortisol for us to produce melatonin. Obviously, you can get into what's called a parasympathetic state. Well, most individuals, specifically ones that are also dealing with thyroid problems, have a direct opposite. They wake up in the morning and it's severely low like this, and then it just spikes up. All right. And so this will inevitably impair, obviously, thyroid hormone, immune health, and all other things, you know? And also, no one looks at this, but no one even is looking at how well you're metabolizing cortisol. Okay. So if we went down here, cheese is good, obviously, but see, we have cortisone All right, then we have cortisol. Cortisone is where excess cortisol gets stored. And so majority of people also have very low cortisone, but then high free cortisol, meaning they never store their cortisone because they're always go, go, go. Okay. There's a million things for them to do. They're like thinking about 1,000 things. They got all these different types of emotional stresses, and then they got all the chemical stresses. Okay. They got, all types of toxins in them, so it's no wonder why everyone, walks around bloated, tired, fatigued, and none of them are going to know this because they're thinking that they got to eat less, move more, or they're not even going to, take the time or even the commitment to invest in themselves to know this information. They're going to continue to take levothyroxine and Synthroid. They're going to continue to keep trying different IG influencers, cocktails, and supplements. They're going to keep doing this and they're going to not get well. And I guarantee that. I guarantee it. I guarantee it. So that being said, cortisol is a huge part. Okay. So we talked about the liver. Now we're just talking about cortisol. And they work together. And both issues in both of these are what's a root cause to the thyroid issues. So instead of trying to take a test and just look at this, well, we know that cortisol plays with thyroid, and we know your gut plays in thyroid. So if I really wanted to figure out what's wrong with your thyroid, I'd have to take 15 tests because shit, I'd need an intracellular mineral test. I would need a Dutch test. I would need a GI map. I'd need a genetics test. Need a food sensitivity test. That's 5 tests right there. Those 5 tests all add up to over $3,000. But we don't need to do that. Everyone that I succeeded with, we don't do testing because we know the shit's fucked. My apologies, but we know. We don't need a test to prove that unless we're moving forward the system. All right. I'm not against tests at all. We use them. But we don't need a test to figure out, okay, well, this is exactly how they get you with, holistic clinics and functional medicine things is they test you and then they throw you on 14 supplements without running a strategic process from point A to point B. And I ran some numbers. And so right now, the client that comes into me, they went to a holistic doctor, and that's about 90% of the time and haven't seen results. So that should just be noted there. So with all this being said, how is this actually going to be applicable for us? So let's get into some of the strategic things. So far, does anyone have any questions? All right, let's get this going. All right. All right, number one, we got to learn to say no. All right. We have to learn to say no. What does that even mean? We have to stop putting ourselves in situations where we're going to be stuck in fight or flight. All right. So this is going to be first lifestyle. We have to learn to say no when we don't want to. If it's not a hell yes, don't do it. If you continue saying yes to things that you don't really want to do, you are going to just not be in a situation where you want to do it. You're going to be at that event, you're going to be doing this thing, and you're like going to be really like just it's adding more stress than you needed to put on yourself. Does this make sense? Raise your hand. Number two, we have to get the water in. 2 gallons in the first 2 days, and then we drop to 1 gallon. Why do we do this? 70% of the United States is dehydrated. You're not tired, you're dehydrated. Most people have chronic fatigue, everything, because they're dehydrated. All right. So we need to make sure we're getting adequate, not only water, but electrolytes as well. Okay, so this is why in the morning we do the lemon and the salt, or we do the Celtic salt, because all these actually increase sodium levels and also even potassium levels. The juices increase potassium, manganese, and all these are also chloride, the nutrient chloride. All these are giving you a more, just whatever, efficient electrolyte status. So that's a big one. Okay. We got to follow the sleep routine. The biggest thing I'd say, the biggest hack is us focusing on sleeping in a cold, dark room. I'm talking about pitch black. Okay. It might be, it probably sounds, pretty simple, but we got to work into the, more advanced stuff. But, these are just some of the fundamentals. Make sure that we're getting a dark, cold room if we can. And if you can do the mouth tape, do that as well. And then the blue light blockers, like I said, we want to wear the blue light blockers, 1 or 2 hours before bed because we want to focus on our natural melatonin production. Okay. So melatonin works with serotonin. Okay. And everyone's depressed because they don't sleep enough. And the reason why that happens is because they don't have enough serotonin. So what do? They get put in an SSRI. You see how all this shit gets tied in together? You got thyroid issue, get that. You got serotonin issue, take this SSRI, which is an antidepressant, by the way, if you didn't know. Okay. So we got that. We got the sleep, hydration, saying no. Okay. And also, big thing is understanding, sitting down with your either significant other or whatever, and telling them, this is what I want to do. This is really what I need to do in order for me to improve myself, my relationships, my life. Okay. And it's true, so we need to have whoever support system to understand why I'm doing this. Because if they don't, they're going to, tell you to go do this thing or that thing when it's not congruent to what the hell you just paid me for. You see? So, with that being said, we need to make sure that our support system is with us, even if it's your kids too, because we need to have a holistic approach, meaning we have to make sure that everyone's on board. And if they're not, just talk to them about it. Be like, or have them join you, do things together, go on more walks, go do more hikes, have them drink their water with you, have them eat your meals with you. We got to make sure that's with us, because if we're living or we're doing something and the other individual is on a whole different thing, I mean, that's fine. That happens a lot, but it's just going to be a little bit harder. So you really want to make sure everyone's on the same level here. Okay. Next thing, supplements. It is 2024. We know, I don't have to tell you how messed up the agriculture is, the food we eat is, and everything else. So why do we even use supplements? Well, it's to supplement what we aren't getting through our diet and nutrition. Okay. So the same apple today, you would have to eat, my apologies, you would have to eat 100 apples today to have the same nutrient value as one apple from just like the 60s. 100. You would have to have 72 cups of spinach to have the equivalent of 1 cup of spinach from just the early 2000s. So when we use specific supplementation, it's to work on specific things, and it's what we can't get through diet. Some of it too is just stuff that you just can't get through diet sometimes. Like specifically some of the bovine that's inside the thyroid boost, some of the things that are antimicrobials that work on getting rid of excess yeast and candida out of your gut. Other things that support your intestinal lining health, other things like bringing back hydrochloric acid for acid reflux. Yes, there's things that can do that, but nothing like a supplement. And do we want fast results? Yes, we want fast results. Do I want you to have fast results? Yes. I want you to absolutely crush it. Okay. Everything I do is to make sure that you guys win. That is the whole thing. That's the whole presence of what I do, is to make sure that everything that I put and give you and tell you is for you to get faster, more efficient, better results, because that's all I want for you. Okay. So with the supplements, they do that. Okay. Sure, I can just give you the meal plan and you won't take the Metapure for you to support liver detoxification. You don't need to take the thyroid boost either. You can just, eat a bunch of pumpkin seeds and, Brazil nuts, but you're not gonna get it. You're gonna need to eat like 14 cups. And at the end of the day, what's more expensive? You eating 60 cups of broccoli to get the one serving of the supplement? Well, plus, who wants to eat 60 cups of broccoli anyway? So that's the point of the supplementation, is it's doing specific things that the nutritional diet and the lifestyle interventions don't do. So no matter if you're taking, you know, like Gut Defender, Thyroid Boost, obviously the herbal adrenals, the Cordy's, these supplements are adaptogenic herbs. Those would be hard to get through diet. I mean, unless you want to go to the magnolia bark tree and pick up some bark, then that's what we're going to do here. So that's why the supplements are crucial. Next thing is the meal spacing. Okay. So what's actually funny is that, this is a whole different thing, but meal spacing produces more GLP-1. You may know GLP-1 by Ozempic, semaglutide, Mounjaro, whatever. GLP-1 actually comes from your gut. GLP-1 is produced by short chain fatty acids that feed into your epithelial cells inside your small intestine. All right. So whatever, you don't need to understand that. What you need to understand that is that by spacing your meals, it helps you produce more of those short chain fatty acids that feed into your intestinal cells that then produce the what's called glucagon like peptide 1. Glucagon like peptide 1, GLP-1. Ain't no commercial ever say that, because they're just telling you it's just weight loss when it's just destroying people's metabolisms. GLP-1s, that's a whole different topic, but just understand the meal spacing helps your body produce more of those GLP-1s, because it helps regulate what? The number one thing, insulin. Glucagon and insulin work together. So by meal, and whoever says that meal spacing is dumb is just not educated and they haven't transformed lives. So you can talk to the person who hasn't transformed lives, or you can talk to the person who has done it. So whatever you want, But the reason why we eat 5 to 6 meals is for you to produce more GLP-1 to get your insulin levels under control. Because if we get insulin levels under control, that helps with fat burning. So this is why the spacing of the meals is so crucial. Okay. So we talked about learn to say no, talked about hydration, talked about support system, we talked about supplementation. Now we're talking about meal spacing. Next is the bone broth. Bone broth is a superfood. I'm telling you, bone broth is a superfood that has been gotten, that has no one ever recommends bone broth for some reason. It helps with so much stuff. It has gelatin, has colostrum, it has glutamine, it has collagen, and all of that supports everything from your hair, your skin, your gut, your thyroid, your inflammation, your immune system. So that's why we use bone broth. Okay. Next is the workouts. The reason why we train is to obviously, get you guys looking good, feeling good, all that, all the cool stuff. But it also really supports your blood sugar levels, your thyroid health. Okay, and it helps with enhancing cellular whatever. And it's a really good mood booster. So the workouts are inevitable. I mean, especially as like you age, you lose muscle tissue. Even if it's just for 15 minutes doing the workout, even if it's like 2 exercises a week. Nothing, something is better than nothing, always. Okay. And you're still winning if you're having the thought of doing it. Okay. Because at least you're thinking about it, but making sure that we're getting those training sessions in. And I'm not telling you to do every single day. Okay. As long as we're doing something. Okay. Because we want to, and when I say training, I'm talking about the resistance training. Okay. We're not talking about like walking and running. We're talking about resistance, like applying resistance to your muscle. That's why we have them. And then a lot of this stuff, obviously it's a lot of, individualized depending on, each person, but all you guys have different workouts you're doing, but they're all resistance training, meaning we're applying resistance to our muscles, which obviously improves so many different things, but mainly, a lot of blood sugar things, and even fat loss because it improves your basal metabolic rate, which is your resting metabolic rate. Okay. The next would be just making sure that if we can, at least getting the meat organic and grass fed, at least the meat. Okay, you don't have to do all the fruit, the veggies, but at least the meat, if we can get just the meat, because conventional meat is, and this is a proven fact, has antibiotic residue on it. Antibiotics obviously wipe out the gut microbiome, but I mean, let's take this. I've talked about it before in the group chat. Would you rather eat a cow? Would you rather eat a chicken, you know, that's been inside a barn, that's getting fed candy and all sorts of soy? Or would you rather have a cow or a chicken or whatever, a bison or whatever, that's out in the field in the pasture, that's eating all different types of grass and it's getting all types of sun and all that? So that's really what you're getting with an organic, you know, grass fed, type of meat or a chicken. You're getting, and the shit matters. They say, oh, organic doesn't matter. Oh yeah, I just haven't, just I show emotion because it's true. Because, you know, most the people that are saying this that doesn't matter are working in a clinic. What does that mean? They don't run a business. They don't get money from making results. So if you want results, this is exactly why I tell you to do these things. So the organic matters. And if we can't get organic everything, which most don't, and I'm not telling you to get organic everything, but just the meat, like if the ground turkey, the salmon, we'd say that wild caught as well, but then also the different types of ground beef, the bison, which some of you will work into as we move on, but the wild caught stuff too. Making sure it is the organic grass fed because that shit matters. All right. Um, you know, Another thing is that really checking your biofeedback. So what biofeedback is like how you're feeling on a day-to-day basis. How many bowel movements have you had today? How do you feel hunger-wise? How has the cycle been? Has it been consistent? What are we at for that? How is your sleep? How is your energy levels? How is your blood sugar levels? It's called biofeedback, just monitoring your body. Like me, you'll get to this point, but you'll be like, oh shit, I feel like shit. But you probably, I mean, you do, but like you'll know exactly, when your body is in rhythm, and then you won't know, when you aren't. Like me personally, like right now, I'm definitely not in rhythm. I just traveled from Florida to Minnesota in a car. I don't feel A1 right now. But, you know, we have specific things we do to get back there, you know. But nonetheless, can you guys raise your hand if this is all making sense? Is this Are you guys getting something new here? Is this something new? Have you guys ever heard this before? Is this making sense? All right. Let me do a review real quick. Okay. We got to learn to say no more. No to the bars. No to getting fucked in the face by alcohol or sugar or sweets just for a period of time. Okay. And remember, it is it is normal to be overweight and unhealthy. Unfortunately, it is normal. So they will think that you're weird because you want to stay healthy for your kid, for your future, but ultimately for yourself. All right. So learn to say no more often. That doesn't mean you can't have social events. I say this, all right. I'm not dogmatic. You can go to have the social events, everything, but just making sure that, we're doing the best we can. And then, if anything, moderation. But number two is hydration. You know, um, make sure we get electrolytes. So we're doing all the stuff that I put on the top of the meal plan here. Okay. Next was supplementation. Supplements are for a reason. They do specific things, and they're just supplement in conjunction with everything else that I've laid out for you. Number four is the meal spacing. This has been, to help with producing more GLP-1, glucagon-like peptide, but also stabilizing blood sugar. Also keeps you full longer. Um, and sometimes, yeah, it gets a little hard to get everything in a day, but you do the best you can, and that's a win. That's a win. Doing the best you can, that's a win. Every day you wake up and you improve yourself and you really, you know, get after it, that's a win. So don't ever give up on yourself for that. All right. Okay, next is we're on supplements. Oh, organic. Yeah, the organic. We gotta, do the best you can with the organic. I just, there's the dirty dust and the clean 15. You can really do that. But just as long as we just get the meat, yeah. So meat and dairy products is what I normally say. But most of the individuals that are taking the flush are on the first phase. We're not really having any type of dairy. So, but as you move on, you'll see that, you know. Um, and so that's kind of the point of that. And then the training as well, doing the best we can to follow the training for sure. Okay. So what do we got here? All right, we got about 8 minutes. Does any of you two have questions? Like, just feel free to rapid fire. All right. I hope this is valuable. I'm gonna actually have a recording. This is all recorded, and then I'll put it into the vault, whatever. And this is gonna be inside whatever. Yeah. So the biggest struggle is the late night snacking. What do you feel? What do you like to snack on? Do you feel like you get done with dinner and then right after you just need something sweet, or do you just feel like later in the evening it's more so just like you gotta eat, you know? Okay, for sure. So with that being said, I'd say we primarily focus on, that's why we really like to focus on spacing the meals out. And by spacing the meals out, you'll start to feel fuller throughout the day. Okay. And that would inevitably help you with those late night cravings. Now, the thing is that most of the time with these cravings and everything, and this is actually crazy, it's more of an actual physiological issue. And what I mean by that is that it's actually something going on inside your body. And for most of the time, it's something called candida, which is a yeast overgrowth. And in your specific situation, it's H. pylori, which is a bacterial overgrowth. So I actually have this saying called fix your physiology over your psychology. So what that means is that if you are dealing with these mental health issues and everything, therapy is great and everything like that. If you go and you do that without addressing all the physiological shit inside your body, from neural inflammation, from poor nutrition, from poor diet, nothing is going to help. It's true. It is very, very true. And I've known many people with mental health issues that when we correct their actual physiological state, they have improved mental health. All right. So, yes, by eating the specific foods throughout the day, Jennifer, and using some of the supplementation I've suggested, that's going to eradicate the H. pylori. And by that, you will be able to, well, first of all, with some of the issues you've been experiencing specifically, it's no doubt about it that there's some nutrient deficiencies going on because we're not able to have the right stomach acid for us to actually break down the food and, obviously digest and assimilate it. So by eating throughout what I'm saying for the suggested meal plan and by taking the proper supplementation, that will obviously help you with even the late night cravings. But that's something we can talk about too, 101. But that's definitely what I've seen. But if you do, trying that shake again, or just trying anything, I'll send you like a different listing. But trying any of those other meals that I've had for you, definitely just get that in, because remember, food is medicine. Food is medicine at first. I feed you guys a lot more calories than you even know, and you guys still lose weight because food is medicine. And what I mean by that is that specific foods that you're eating support different things inside your body. And this is coming back on traditional Chinese medicine, Ayurvedic medicine. Ayurvedic medicine, traditional Chinese medicine, has been around for thousands of years. Conventional Western medicine of synthetic pharmaceutical drugs have been around for like 200 years. 1,000 years, 200 years. 1,000 years, 200 years. We forget that. We forget that. And so it's taboo to be like, oh, taking all these herbs and I'm doing this for this and this for this. I'm drinking bone broth. I'm drinking hot food when I'm cold. Well, yeah, because conventional, Ayurvedic medicine, traditional Chinese medicine, how they did it years ago, that's how they got well, and that's how you get well. But yeah. So we can talk to 101, but I'd say, more so doing the best we can to, I'd say after a day of getting all the meals in and trying all the suggested supplements, seeing how we feel at the late night, and then going from there. It's basically troubleshooting it to see what we need to do to make the proper adjustments to get rid of this issue. Because we're going to, we need to. All right. Did you have any other questions? All right, then. We got here. So, next Wednesday, I'm actually get a calendar going here. So you guys can get consistent reminders that Thursday, 6 p.m. CST Central Time, we'll be doing these meetings weekly. And I want you to bring questions, hella questions or whatever. Your mom's questions, your dad's questions, your kids' questions, your husband's questions, whatever. I need to see because that's what I'm here for. And then I'm going to go over educational topics here to help educate you to do this for life. All right. I'm here for you guys. Let's do it.